Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. This is Rainer from Rainier Books, and today is the day. Yesterday we celebrated Midsummer Night's Eve here in Stockholm, and today is Midsummer Day. The half of the year is almost gone. We're turning now towards winter again, but still we have a couple of weeks summer to go, and outside it is really hot. Climate change is really showing its teeth even here in Sweden. It's very hot, much hotter than 10 or 15 years ago or 20 years ago when I moved here to this country. But let me do now the Midyear book Freakout tag. This is the most important tag of the year. It was created some years ago by somebody called That Charmy, a channel that is not longer available, not longer present on BookTube, but it is the best tag for all of the people because it returns each and every year, and so many people do this, so many videos to be seen, and here is my version of it. Let's do the prompts. The first question is always the best book that you've read so far in the ongoing year of 2023. And this is such a difficult question for me because I read so many good books, so many books that I was really impressed of. I know I have to do a top 10 list by the end of the year. That's what I always do, my top 10 reads of the year. But I still haven't processed really what is my favorite book so far in 2023. So I give you five titles, and maybe also 5 recommendations for you who haven't read those books. Or if you have read those books, please drop in the comments down below if you like them as much as I did. First one is the winner of the Women's Prize, Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver, the story of David Copperfield from Charles Dickens, transformed into the 21st century, transplanted from the United Kingdom, from England to Appalachia in the United States in the midst of the opioid crisis. A great novel, a great character, probably the best book that Kingsolver will ever write in her life. The second book I want to talk about is Bournville by Jonathan Coe, a family story spanning over 3 generations or even 4 maybe. Bournville is the place close to Birmingham, the second largest city in England, where the Cadbury chocolate factory is located, which means a lot to England and to British people, especially if you think that Cadbury chocolate, that what everybody was eating, what everybody was so proud of in the UK, was not regarded as chocolate by the European Union. And we see this family that is living in Bournville and outside Bournville, connected to British history, to 8 events in British history, to the Wembley final between Germany and England in 1966, to the marriage of Prince Charles, then Prince Charles, and Lady Diana Spencer, and a lot of other things. And Coe is really a unique author who is able to connect events, historical events, with events of families, of people that he creates. And he's telling us a lot about history, but also about the human condition. This is the third book I want to mention here is The Shards by Bret Eastonillas. You could call it a thriller, you could call it a chronicle of the early 1980s. Bret Eastonillas, its autofiction, is giving us the story of this high school boy named Brad Ellis, who is discovering at 17 that he's gay, more gay than heterosexual. He has a girlfriend in the beginning, but he's attracted to a lot of other boys and men. And there's also the story of this killer that is going around, this serial killer, and also the story of the new student, the new pupil in the high school that Brett is attending, the posh, rich high school in Los Angeles, Robert Mallory. And this is a story about 500-600 pages, 500 something, that Ellis has written so intense, so gripping, and so authentic that it really takes your breath away. Great book by Bret Eastonillas. The fourth book I want to mention is, hold on a second. The fourth book I want to mention here is Fire Rush by Jacqueline Crooks, a story of a young English Caribbean woman in the late 1970s playing in London, in Bristol, and in Jamaica. The story of a liberation, a woman's liberation, the story of music, with a lot of music in it, with dub music and reggae music. I really love this one as well. And the fifth and final book that was Wandering Souls by Cécile Pin, the history of Vietnamese refugees coming from Vietnam in the end of the 1970s as well here, coming to the United Kingdom, and after their story of integration, which is a sad story, a story full of sadness in a lot of respects, but also a story full of hope. A very short book that I really liked a lot. So these 5 books, I would say, were my best reads so far in 2023. Sorry. The best sequel you've read so far. And with sequel, okay, I understand, for example, are the thrillers. Sometimes I read thrillers, as you know, and I think every year, almost every year, I answer this question in the same way. It's the newest book by Michael Connelly. Desert Star. I read that. It's from December 20 or November 2022, but I read it this year, early this year, and it's another Michael Connelly book about Harry Bosch and Renee Ballard. And yes, it was well done, it was well written, and Connelly, after a certain period of time when I gave his thrillers a 3-star review, has gotten back up to 4, and he really knows how to do a plot, how to entertain people, how to sort of create these engaging stories that you simply can't put away. The new release you haven't read yet but want to is, it's on my Kindle. It is Caleb Azuma Nelson's book Small Worlds. Small Worlds, which is the story of 3 summers of a young British Ghanaian man. 3 summers, which he is both in London and in Ghana, and then back to London, I think. And he's a dancer, he's an artist. And I read Caleb Azuma's first book, which is called Open Water, and I really loved it, and I can't wait to read Small Worlds. It's on my summer TBR. The most anticipated release for the second half of the year, I pass here because I am not so well informed about what happens in the second half of the year. I don't go through all these publishers' catalogs or whatever, and I don't get books sent in advance with ARC, so I'm really not so very well into what is going to be published until December of this year. The biggest disappointment so far, definitely it was C.J. Box's novel, also sequel if you want so, because it is about the game warden Joe Pickett, and I really didn't like it. It was a 1-star read, very stereotypical characters, a lot about the living in Wyoming there, where people from the East and the West Coast don't understand what those people are really about, and mistrust against the federal state, and then a conspiration story which includes the governor, and which has these sort of characters that are so stereotypical that I really didn't like it. And I actually still wonder why I didn't DNF it. That was the biggest disappointment. The biggest surprise, which is prompt number 6, that was definitely Wandering Souls by Cécile Pin, that I read from the long list of the Women's Prize. I was really surprised how much I liked this book. I expected a good book, but I read a brilliant book. And the way it is composed on almost only 200 plus X pages, 210, 215 pages, she has created several narrations, several narratives by different characters. She has included documents from the time of the 1980s, 1970s, 1980s, and she has the voice of a ghost, and everything is working so well together, and the story is also such a great story that I really have to say that was the biggest and unexpected surprise that I had. I usually pass for the next question, your newest fictional crush. No, sorry, 7 is favorite new author, ba. And that is, I would say, I don't know if I said that last year maybe as well, but because now I've read Bourneville by Jonathan Coe, and it's the 3rd book that I read by him, that definitely Jonathan Coe is now one of my favorite authors. I like the way he connects history to characters and to people, to fictional families and fictional characters. He is really great in that, and he is one of my favorite new authors. The newest fictional crush, here we go, here we are. Usually I say, no, I don't, I'm too old, I'm far too old to have a fictional crush. But if I could go back to the 1970s, to the late 1970s, well, then I was like 17 years old and 18 years old when 1980s started, you know. And so I thought, you may, Yamai, the character, the main character of Fire Rush by Jacqueline Crooks, she's in that same age. This young woman from England with that Caribbean, Jamaican background who's into reggae music, into dub music. I really loved the character, and yes, she could be a fictional crush if I would be sort of transformed into that book of 1979, of course, at age 17, 18. Otherwise, I don't have crushes on characters usually. The newest favorite character, I wouldn't say favorite character, but I love the character. I love the amount of depiction, the picture that she painted in that book. She won the Women's Prize. Of course, it's Demon Copperhead, Barbara Kingsolver's creation of this beautiful red-haired character in Appalachia. First, I got myself born. That's the very first sentence of the novel. And then everything begins. He was born in that trailer home, and he was actually bound to be dead before he gets 20 years old, but he survives because otherwise he wouldn't be able to tell his story. So Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver, a book that made you cry, the saddest book you have read. This is difficult because I always read these miserable and sad books. Mostly that's sort of my speciality. I seldom read books that make me laugh. So I just want to sit there and cry. There's a song by Johnny Cash, actually, of that title. But I would say that the saddest story, or the saddest parts of stories, of course, Demon Copperhead has a lot of these ingredients. There's a lot of sadness. A lot of people die in Demon Copperhead. So this is a book that I definitely cried. Also, Wandering Souls by Cécile Pin. Also, Fire Rush by Jacqueline Crooks, when Yamai's great love dies. Things like that, they're books that really make you sad. And I think that this has to do with the books that I like. They very often make me sad because that's what life is. Life is not a roller coaster. It's not riding a roller coaster all day and night. And we just go smiling and laughing, all the time. It is everything. And it also makes you sad from time to time. The book that made you happy. Yes, I have an answer to that one. Number 11. That is Yellowface by Rf Huang. A book that really made me happy. It touches a lot of questions in the publishing industry, about cultural appropriation, about this young white woman who steals a book from an Asian American woman, makes it a bestseller, and in that social media sphere, but there's so much sarcasm, so much irony, so much humor in that book as well that it really made me happy at times. So Yellowface by Rf Huang would be the answer to that. Number 12, favorite book to film adaptation you saw this year. Honestly, I read the book this year and I saw the film adaptation last year. So, but I hope it counts. I say it counts. It's Tokyo Vice, based on the book by Jake Adelstein, which I think the TV series, the show that HBO ran, is a lot better than the book. I read the book, I saw the TV series. I like Jake Adelstein, the TV show, much more because is less misogynistic, less sexist than the book is at times. It's a great show and a great, everything that plays in Tokyo is interesting to me because I love Tokyo. I want to go there again for a third time and I hopefully will. Number 13, favorite review you've written this year. BookTube version, favorite video you have done so far this year. Well, I never say anything about my own videos and which one is my favorite. That is something for you to decide. There are several videos and I think I like the fact that I do more and more individual reviews of single books. This is something I have to do more. It also keeps people coming to the channels that you do, to the stuff that you do. The weekly wrap-ups are not so successful in the long run because people want to know about a certain book. If they have read Tokyo Vice by Jake Adelstein, they might go on YouTube and look for a review on that medium. And that's, I think, something that is also more sustainable in the long run. Number 14, most beautiful book you've bought so far this year or received. Well, that would be Fire Rush. I love the cover. Jacqueline Crooks' book is mentioned for the third time here, or fourth time already in this video. So this must have impressed me. It has. It has impressed me a lot. And this is the most beautiful cover. I like yellow. I like reggae music. After reading Fire Rush, crush on the character, but Fire Rush is the title of the book. So after I read Fire Rush, I have to say that I listened to a lot of music, especially Bob Marley and the Wailers. Not so much to the playlist that Jacqueline created herself about the book. I listened to it too. I liked it a lot, but I rediscovered Bob Marley, and I heard a couple of his London concerts that are now live on Spotify and other platforms. So, most beautiful book is Fire Rush. And now, 15, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? Which is the last prompt, the last question here. And I would say, I don't know. I have 2 ARCs that I got actually today when I checked NetGalley. I get 2 RCs. There's a new book by Lydia Kiesling, and there is a new book by Claire Keegan that I got, but I wouldn't say that these are the books that I most definitely want to read until the end of the year. But I'm sure that the Booker long list, which is coming in the beginning of August, the National Book Award long list for the USA, which is coming in August as well, and also the Giller Prize for Canada, which is coming in August. These long lists will give me like 30, 32, 33, 34 new titles. Some of them new, some of them not new, but some of the new titles are definitely going to be books that I want to read until the end of the year. So let's wait for that. And this was the Midyear book Freakout tag. Please tell in the comments down below, if you don't do your video yourself, what you're expecting most, what your best read was until now in 2023. And I hope to see you very soon in another beautiful and amazing, great video. Thank you. Bye. Have a great day.